The opposition will have its commissioners in the June 30th elections, while the DP and SMI have submitted the names of the members for the 90 commissions of the electoral administration zones on Saturday. The EU has criticized Minister Belinda Baluku for not developing the energy sector, in which during the meeting of EU finance ministers they requested Albania to ensure efficient energy market liberalization and renewable energy. The increasing number of state bills has become a serious threat to the Albanian economy, while Arben Malaj says the two recent decisions by the international courts will cost the budget approximately 200 million euros. It's 6 o'clock on Saturday, the 18th of May, 2019. Good evening, and thank you for tuning in to rtvOra's English edition. My name is Oliver, bringing you the only daily update of the local Albanian news, translated into English. Well, up first tonight, although not competing with mayoral candidates in the June 30th elections, the opposition will still have its commission members in the upcoming elections. The Democratic Party and the Socialist Move for Integration have submitted the names of the members for the 90 commissions of the electoral administration zones. Electoral Affairs Secretary Ivi Caso has been presented to the Central Election Commission with the SMI representative to submit the list of commissioners. Even though the DP and SMI haven't registered for the local elections, it has used its right to have commissioners at every CEAZ. Meanwhile, at the session on Saturday, the Central Commission returned the lists for candidates to the Municipality Council of several parties, which lacked multi-name list of documentation in some districts around the country. Meanwhile, Flamur Nasupi, candidate for the Municipal Council for the Green Party in Gramsh Municipality, has been rejected by the CEC as he was previously convicted of sexual assault and his data is included within the detention period. Next up tonight, the Central Election Commission has rejected the candidacy of Dionis Alfred Beleri in his run as an independent candidate in the June 30th elections. Beleri was registered to participate in the elections for the municipality of Himar, but after the verification procedure on the self-decriminalization form, the Central Election Commission took the decision to reject his request. This decision was made due to the final decision taken over the last couple of years, where he was sentenced to 3 years in prison by the Vlora court for hate crimes for 10 years ago. The rehabilitation period that is set for 10 years ends 1 month after the local Albanian elections. After the decision by the Central Election Commission, officials in Athens have reacted by expressing concerns over the refusal of the candidacy for president of the Democratic Union of the Greek minority. Dionis Alfred Beleri, on the official website of the Greek Ministry of Foreign Affairs, it is stated that the decision has no legal grounds, while it is said that they are closely monitoring developments and stand ready to assist the representatives of the minority. Furthermore, during the afternoon meeting, the CEC has also refused the candidacy of Jean Nika for the Skodra municipality, as well as Alfred Alfredai for the council of the Tripoia municipality. Nika and Alfredai are candidates for the moderate Socialist Party. Come to Vlora is the new invitation for local and foreign tourists at the start of this New Year's season. With this slogan, the coastal city of Vlora officially launched the 2019 tourist season. The activities over the past few days ended with a concert at Lungomare with some of the most famous Albanian music icons. Mayor Dritan Leli announced the challenge for Vlora to become the epicenter of this new touristic season in Albania. Due to the weather conditions, vacationers were few in number. However, there was a handful of tourists who enjoyed the beaches and swimming in Vlora's pristine waters. It is argued that Vlora, with its beaches Sanzani, Kaburini, Kanina Castle, Narta Lagoon, Logara, in addition to many of its monuments and popular restaurants, has the potential for improving touristic development. However, this tourist season started with the same problems faced from the previous year, where in several sections along Vlora's coastline, sewage still runs into the sea, creating a hazard for beachgoers. The official opening of the season was to be declared a week ago, but was postponed due to the National Day of Mourning in the honor of the first lieutenant who lost her life in a mission in Latvia. Now on to our next story. In the aftermath of the decision by the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, the European Union has demanded an increasing number of reforms in the energy sector. Being a candidate country for the European Union, a number of recommendations, among which have led to some criticism for Minister Belinda Bulucu, has been made in Albania. In the last meeting of the EU finance ministers with their counterparts from the Western Balkans and Turkey, Albania was urged to liberalize the electricity market and increase renewable energy. The electricity sector is one of the key sectors, but most problematic sectors in Albania. Investments in hydropower and solar panels are not lacking, but instead of being stimulated, they are hindered by government bureaucracy. For months, investors have knocked on the doors of the ministry headed by Belinda Bulucu, but the only answer they receive is the postponement of sublegal acts that would pave the way for investments. During the first months of the year, the Albanian state imported over 110 million euros of electricity, which many argue to be a significant burden on the state budget. The ministers agreed in joint conclusions outlining the key economic challenges for the Western Balkans and Turkey, as well as targeted policy guidance addressing the most acute socio-economic reform needs that the region has. In the press release, it is stated, the policy recommendations agreed for Albania's focus on pursuing fiscal consolidation and higher revenue mobilization, improving public finance transparency and public investment planning. Albania has also agreed to resolve non-performing loans. The authorities have also committed to implementing the justice reform. They also agreed to improve support services for SMEs and encourage investments in tourism. Albania also agreed to ensure effective liberalization of the energy market and to improve energy efficiency and increase the use of renewable energy. Finally, the authorities committed to improving active labor market policies, implementing vocational education reform, improving capacities for the assessment of social care needs, and increasing spending on early childhood education and care. The performance of the Albanian economy is endangered as a result of the high bills that the state will have to pay for unilaterally breaking their contracts with companies. Over the past few weeks, the international courts have made a decision in favor of the companies, in effect adding to the budget 200 million euros. The president of the Institute for Public Policy and Good Governance, Arben Malai, argues that this figure is as much as 80% of the total investment. Malai has appealed to the decision and is said to be paying particular attention to the PPP contracts. Even the Confederation of Albanian Industries, following the decision of the International Court in Washington in the last few days, will request that the Albanian Parliament establish a commission for the in-depth investigation of the case in question and the extraction of all perpetrators. According to official documents, the Albanian state risks facing international tribunals with financial penalties, which reportedly can amount to over 200 million euros. The Confederation of Albanian Industries finds that severe penalties from the international courts raise red flags for the Albanian government, which should be cautious in their current policy regarding PP contracts. The financial costs caused by Albania's losses in international courts are quite severe and directly affect the national economy, the state budget, the long-term welfare of Albanian citizens. If no preventative measures are taken immediately, it is said that these financial penalties by international courts may lead to the end of the Albanian state budget. The severe consequences of these penalties imposed by the international courts also lead to a long-term crackdown on financial market confidence, the further reduction of competitive power to attract foreign investments into the country. And finally tonight, with the aim of keeping youth connected to traditions and cultural heritage in Berat, May 18th, or the International Museum Day, is dedicated to the arts and crafts and youth. The 2 days of activities in the city have solicited high school students which are familiar with the traditions and values of the area. In the first day of activities, the high school students, alongside the museum specialists, organized a visit to the village of Rosnik in the district of Berat, where they were introduced with agritourism in the area. Meanwhile, on the second day, activities were held at the Ethnographic Museum. With the material provided a day earlier in the village of Rosnik, students under the leadership of craftsmen showed visitors and other participants the woolen technique, starting from the dyeing of wool all the way up to the final process of working in the loom, said cultural heritage specialist Elena Uznova. The activities were held under the slogan, "Museums as a Cultural Center and the Future of Tradition." aiming to attract young people towards these institutions and to familiarize them with these unique traditions. And that's the news across the country today. Thank you for watching our English edition this evening, and be sure to join us again every Monday to Saturday at 6 p.m. for the latest news from Albania. Once again, on behalf of RTV Ora, thank you and have a great weekend.